All right, we're still in chapter 6, talking a little bit more about inventory in particular. On this part, we're going to discuss the lower of cost or market rule. So we have the lower of cost or market rule. It prevents inventory from being overstated. So the example here, they have inventory on the books. Indurain Incorporated has inventory on the books for $5,500, and that inventory could be replaced for $4,000. So what they're going to do is adjust the inventory downward by crediting the asset. So this decreases the inventory asset. And we're going to increase the expense, which decreases stockholders' equity. But we're going to increase our expense and cost of goods sold. All right, so that's the lower of cost or market rule. As a result of the fire, let's say after they make this lower of cost or market rule adjustment, often called LOCOM, there's a fire at their competitor's warehouse. The value of the inventory returns. Now there's a shortage to $5,500, but because of GAAP, they cannot revalue the inventory. All right. That's not a total disaster though, because when they sell the inventory will be at a lower cost, and they'll recognize a higher gross profit. Okay. So that's the lower of cost or market rule, and we'll go over the two performance metrics associated with this chapter. The first one is the gross profit percentage, and it's gross profit over net sales revenue. Here's a little mini part of an income statement. $100 in net sales, $60 cost of goods sold, $40 gross profit. So if you have $40 of gross profit, $100 in net sales, that's a 40% margin. Now this is a super important percentage. Companies that are merchandising companies follow this very closely. They follow their competitors' gross profit percentages very closely. It's a little difficult to tell. If given a baseline, you know that higher is better. So a higher gross profit percentage is better. But it's difficult to tell if it's strong or weak because it's really industry dependent. So a company like Apple, I think, has a gross profit percentage around 40%. And then there are some wholesale supply companies that have gross profit percentages in the 2% range. So it's really industry dependent. But generally anything around 30 to 40% is reasonable, is consistent with a viable business. Numbers over 50% are super strong and indicate a company that has a very high demand. All right. So the other operating metric we have is inventory turnover. You take the cost of goods sold over the average inventory. So this is beginning inventory. This was ending inventory divided by 2. And let's see, cost of goods sold was $6,000. So 6,000 over 550. Let me check my number there. 10.9. Okay. So so you take the cost of goods sold, put it over the average inventory. This tells you you're emptying out your inventory 10, almost 11 times per year. Okay, so darn near monthly. Once again, this is something that's industry dependent. Companies like Walmart really stand out because they can turn their inventory over faster. So given your inventory, you want to be able, your industry, you want to be able to turn your inventory over faster than your competitors. So this is something that companies monitor, and they monitor at their competitors to see how they're doing. So, if you're in an industry that sells yachts, that's a slow turnover industry. If you sell battleships, slow turnover. But if you sell, groceries like fruits and vegetables, high turnover. Okay, but higher is better, given your benchmark. All right, so that does it for Chapter 6.